But there's another issue too, and I mean, being as we're speaking with you gentlemen here, we have a conscience clause in the Texas Constitution that the government shall not compel us to act against our religious conscience. That's Article 1, Section 6 of our Texas Constitution, and it says, "In no matter whatever, nothing." But we also have, I don't know if you remember, but back in 1993 there was the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which was sponsored by those conservative stalwarts Ted Kennedy and Chuck Schumer, and signed into law by Bill Clinton. So these great conservative, these right-wing conspiracy. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be getting on into this right now. But
yes,
anyway,
you should. Mockery. We love mockery here.
Yeah,
tearing down high places.
And in fact, I'm actually using this in a different scenario right now because that protects us against federal involvement. But then I think it was 1998, 99, they said this became a state issue. So Texas passed its own version, the Texas Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which is codified in our Texas government code, 110.003. And basically, what it does is that you can take a look at any law, past, current, future, and because if it infringes upon the government has to show a compelling interest why this statute allows them to violate my religious practices, my religious freedom. And as a Christian, I believe that my marriage is to honor God. I am to learn how to love my wife, serve my wife, pray for my wife, forgive my wife. She's supposed to learn as well various things in her role, toward me. And we have duties. And, the other thing is that as a pastor, you can be eliminated from a position simply by going through a divorce. There was a friend of mine who just said, my sister divorced this one man. He was a godly pastor, never swore anything like that. And the moment they got divorced, he lost his job. And then if you look at 1 Timothy chapter 3, elders are supposed to be the husband of one wife. Deacons are supposed to be the husband of one wife. Now, again, I understand that there's various interpretations, but you can go back to apostolic canons way before that basically talk about the necessity of being, I would say that the husband, it says the husband of one wife, and it doesn't completely address the divorce issue, but if you are divorced, you either have to remain celibate, or if you remarry, you lose the privilege to serve in certain offices, and people can lose their office. The other thing that has happened down here is that we've had pastors that have gone through this, and the courts will tell the pastor, you can't pray, or any religious person, you can't pray with your children. You can't read scripture to your children that talks about, this happened with the Jeff Younger case. He was not allowed to teach his children about biblical sexuality because his ex-wife, his annulled wife supposedly, said that their son wanted to be a transgender. So when Jeff would dress the boy like a boy, do boy things with him, which is what he wanted to be, read the Bible with him, he was not allowed to read about sexuality. And we've had other people that a pastor could not take their child to work on a take your child to work day because he was a pastor of a church. So this is a grave violation that our government is foisting upon us on our religious liberty, on our religious freedoms. And the government has no authority to do that. Furthermore, the courts have to define what is the legitimate nature of the marital relationship. And this is what happened back in 2001 when Justice Kem Thompson Frost said, this is a religious issue. The courts are not allowed to rule on this issue. Therefore, this statute is unconstitutional from the get-go. And she was the lone dissent. It was a 3-justice panel. I think the one justice kind of used some circular logic to get to his position. But I think that she set it up for us in the future to actually say, look, you have to use these arguments to get rid of the stuff. And so this is this very, very big issue, because can you imagine that two churches go to the court and say, well, we believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. They believe in a post-tribulation rapture. This one doesn't believe in any rapture at all. Courts, we want you to decide what's the best thing.
That's a great analogy.
Wow.
That is a phenomenal analogy.
Yeah, but the thing is, in Texas law, Texas jurisprudence says marriage is an institution ordained by God, founded by God, created by God. So if it's created by God, why can the state tell us regulate that?
Wow.